Hey guys, notice anything different? I mean, got some maybe minor changes. I'm wearing a brown shirt. I don't wear a brown shirt all the time. I did get a new curved monitor. Oh, we can't really see that because it's behind my chair. Hey, look, a gray kitty. I bet you're not used to seeing a gray kitty that's as fuzzy and as adorable as this one in my videos. Oh, also, I finished my case. Finally. Alright, if you've been following my channel and been following my work on this computer case, then you know that I've been trying to design what I've called the ultimate airflow and display case design. I wanted to have phenomenal airflow for Crossfire setups, but I also wanted to have a display that shows off everything in the build so that you don't have to hide anything, including your power supply and your solid state disks. And so I started this project, so long ago, and I finally got a shop together and I was able to get this baby put together and I was able to put it to the test. Let's dive right into these performance numbers. So the first thing that we've got to just say is, well, the numbers are not so super amazing. In fact, they're kind of just the same. So I compared this case to the Cooler Master H500P, and I pulled off the front panel and the top panel to make sure I didn't restrict the airflow because, you know, that's kind of an issue that case had. And as you can see, you can just look at these temperature graphs I'm showing, and everything came pretty much the same. Even with direct fan airflow directly to the graphics cards, it didn't make any huge difference. On one hand, we saw the processor temperatures go up a little bit, which isn't necessarily a good thing. Of course, I got some reasoning behind that I'll talk about when we go over the design here in a little bit. But then we look at those VRM temps, and they went down by a decent amount. So it's like, well, that's kind of a trade. There's no huge super advantage that my airflow design came. And that's, I guess, kind of a bummer. Because even the power supply didn't really change a whole lot. And so when you look at that, it's like, that's pretty disappointing. All this hard work, all this time to find out that, well, if you basically have two 200 millimeter fans blowing into your case, you're probably going to keep things as low of a temperature as you can do. At least my noise levels were really good, and I did appreciate that. So you might be thinking, are you kind of disappointed then? Is this just a huge bust for you? Well, not exactly. So this right here, guys, is why I just am really happy at this case. So yeah, let's go ahead and start taking a look at this thing. I'm going to talk about this design and what it's happening here and why I'm so happy about this. So yeah, right away. So as you can kind of see here, I've got like an acrylic panel going on this entire case. And so it just gives you a full windowed display of the entire build. And I love that. I love the fact that I can show off a solid state drive. I like the fact that I can show off the power supply. I love the fact that you can see the whole build. And pretty much cables, they disappear in this build because everything is off to the back and going out behind the case. So I'm going to pop this panel off now. So basically what I did is I just got magnets. And yeah, you can see there I got the 4 magnets right there, and so that they'll just magnetically just pop right on. So yeah, underneath here you can see there's my bottom fans blowing right up to the graphics cards, and you know, as we saw, that didn't make a huge difference, but it looks cool. It just looks like I've got this vortex thing going on, and I'm really happy about that. If I come in here underneath, you can kind of see. So there's that wide open spot in the back. And you can kind of see some more cutouts there. And you can see I cut out a hole there in the back as well. So I got plenty of airflow going in the back sides of the case to give it airflow so that we don't have to worry about air going in the front parts of the case. And so, yeah, I love Crossfire SLI. And I love this fan going straight to the GPU's combination there. I really think it looks nice. It is something that I really enjoy. So I wanted to show off my solid state drive. And so ideally what I would love to have had is like one of those RGB solid state drives from like Team Group, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. So, but still, I always like having a solid state drive. So I got my Crucial MX500 there. And what I'd done is I'd left some extra space like right here. And the reason why I'd done that is I was like, well, that way you can show off too. But for this project, I kind of wish I had brought that down a little bit lower and centered it and just had it showing off the one drive. Because unless I had two drives, it just looks like empty space. So yeah, and so that brings me up here to the power supply. So if we come over to here, you can kind of see I've got my power supply sitting there. And you can kind of see that this edge, the top edge of the power supply is basically almost hitting my radiator. If I'd had, say, like a 360 or a 420 rad, wouldn't have had room for it. And that was never my intention. I designed it so that the idea was the power supply was supposed to be even with the top edge of the motherboard. So if it had happened, I would have dropped this whole power supply unit down. Now the power supply would have still cleared any graphics card, so that comes shooting out here. Not with a wood shelf necessarily, but if it was like metal mounting. And then I would have my solid state down here. So that's kind of what I was trying to go for, but I didn't pay attention to it when I installed and mounted the shelf, and then I stained it, and I didn't realize it until I'd put the whole build in that my power supply was too high. So that wasn't intentional, but you know, for the purposes of this build, it didn't affect anything, and we are good. But yeah, I couldn't resist. So that's the Gamdius power supply. And I love that grill design. And I love that RGB light ring. It just looks great. And that's why I wanted this case to look like this. I wanted to have an airflow design that would still show off the power supply. And that is just fantastic. Now, then we can come up here to the top. And so as you can see there, I've got my three 200 millimeter fans here up top to help exhale the air to keep a single directional airflow going through this whole case. And like I said, and as we found out, didn't make a huge difference, but I still love the way it looks. I love these three fans here, and it just gives this whole case. I mean, look at that. You just got all this blue surrounding the build. This is a Vortex. I'm calling this case the Vortex, the Hardware Hound Vortex. So I really like that. So one of the things I wanted to point out now in the design, I mentioned this in the testing, how the CPU heat had really come up higher than I expected. And if you can kind of see here, I've barely got any space around this 240 millimeter radiator or 280 millimeter radiator. So it didn't give any of the hot air room to vent anywhere except straight through this radiator. Now, if I had a metal design, I could have brought these 200 millimeter fans more over. I could have made those holes wider, and I would have been able to have some extra ventage to work through, so that not all the hot air coming off the graphics cards during testing was going straight up through the radiator. So to me, I don't feel like it's a big deal that the processor temperature was a little bit higher, because I really feel like just a simple redesign would have solved that problem without even having to change the layout. Of course, that said, if I didn't have this power supply in the way, if I moved this whole radiator over this way, then no problem. So now, guys, if I wanted to put extra radiators in here, the whole purpose of trying to put these fans spaced like this is so I'd have room to put rads and fans across the bottom here. And that's what I would love to do. That's where I'm hoping I can go to with some future ideas that I got on this case. So that's kind of the overview of the design right there. That's how I want it to be. And quite frankly, guys, I cannot be disappointed, because I really love the way this case turned out. Even if the temperatures weren't what I was hoping they would be, I just love the way this design looks. So yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up this video and send this project on its farewell note, and maybe we'll go some farther ways with it down the road, but maybe not. Either way, I'm still pretty happy with it. I've got plans for some ideas of some things that kind of hit me after the fact that would kind of make me wonder, maybe there's still some good merit to this design that I just haven't discovered yet. So for starters, 200 millimeter fans, we didn't get any huge difference. But what if this was a design where instead of these 200 millimeter fans, we only had 140s? And so typically you'll have a lot of mid-range cases where we'll have two 140 millimeter fans in the front and then like a 120 in the rear. So what if I change that design up and I try like two 140s in the bottom, two 140s in the top, just to kind of see if that makes a big impact? That was something that came to my mind, and that might make a bigger difference then, because you don't have nearly as much airflow with that small of a fan. And so there's things like that that I could test. That said, I still have a plan to test some things out with component configurations. I'm going to CES now on next week, and if, depending on how things go and stuff, maybe I can get some loaner samples to try out some other theories. And if I could, we might still have some more fun. But all in all, that all being said, I love it. It's my case. I mean, maybe it didn't give me all the results I wanted. Do I care? Nope. Because I built a case, guys. And you know what? Nobody in the world has a case like this one, because it's my design, you know, and I love it. And I'm happy with it. And I guess when it's all said and done, why do we do these things that we do? Why do we build our computers? Why do we go and do crazy things? Because we love it and we're happy with it. And it doesn't matter if it makes sense to anybody else. If it makes sense to me, if it makes sense to you, then hey, that's what makes it worth it, right? So guys, finally, just gotta say, I want to do a huge final thank you to NZXT. If it hadn't been for them, this would not be possible. Guys, those 200 millimeter fans are not just super easy to come by. And I mean, I could drop some money on them, but I have 3 kids and a house payment, so I can't just drop money whenever I feel like it. Thank you so much, NZXT, for helping me out with the fans and helping me get this case project off the ground. Yeah, guys, they're a great company. I've got their link in the description below. Check them out. They make some great products, cases, CPU coolers, power supplies, and actually, guys, I've got their Kraken X62. That's weird. My case just turned off. I didn't know I had that sleep mode still on. So yeah, I've got their Kraken X62 with my CPU cooler. When I was doing my actual bench testing, I was using their E850 power supply. And then of course, those blue 200 millimeter fans, those are all NZXT too. So I really appreciate, and just huge thank you again to NZXT for helping me out. Guys, I hope this project was fun for you, as maybe hopefully as much as it was for me. I'll catch you later. Kit Kat, I couldn't have asked for a better timing for you to